The person you keep thinking about truly does care for you in a deep way. However, the real reason for the space between you might surprise you. Take a slow, deep breath before you continue, because this message carries real weight. It is not something light or surface level. It reaches into that quiet space that exists between two people who feel strong emotions but rarely express them. If you want the honest truth about why the person on your mind is not getting closer, pay attention right now. When someone stays in your thoughts constantly, not just once in a while but again and again, there is usually a reason that goes far beyond coincidence. And if distance has formed between you, whether emotional, physical, or complete silence, then you need to understand something important. That gap is not exactly what it looks like on the surface. The first thing you should understand is that the person in your mind really does care about you in their own way. This care is not loud or dramatic like in movies. It is not expressed through big promises or constant messages. Instead, it exists in a quieter, heavier, and sometimes difficult form. This is not someone who forgot you or simply moved on easily. They still carry parts of you with them in their everyday life. They remember small details like your voice, your expressions, and how safe or understood they felt around you. These memories stay with them because those moments meant something real. So then the question becomes, why is there distance between you? Love does not always bring people closer immediately. Sometimes it makes them step back, pause, and think deeply before they can open up fully. Strong feelings can bring fear just as much as they bring comfort. When someone genuinely cares, they often become more aware of their own weaknesses, fears, and emotional limits. You touch more than just their feelings. You also touch their insecurities, past wounds, and emotional scars they have not fully healed from. That can feel overwhelming for them at times. Love can act like a mirror, showing them things they are not ready to face. And because of that, even real feelings can make someone withdraw. It is important to understand that distance does not always mean a lack of care. Often, silence is a reflection of internal struggle. They may want to come closer, talk openly, and express everything, but doubt and fear hold them back. Their mind fills with questions like whether they are enough, whether they will disappoint you, or whether they might hurt you in some way. These thoughts can become heavy to carry. So stepping back becomes their way of coping with emotional pressure. Sometimes, deep love feels like responsibility to them. The more they care, the more they feel the need to protect you and themselves from possible pain. Because of this, distance becomes a form of self-protection rather than rejection. If there is someone you cannot stop thinking about but they seem to pull away, understand this carefully. They are not trying to lose you. They are also afraid of not being able to love you the way you deserve. Even they may not fully understand or explain what they feel. They stand between wanting closeness and needing space. That push and pull becomes their emotional pattern. The distance is often the only way they know how to manage that inner conflict. Every action, even silence, carries meaning in this situation. When someone pulls back, it does not mean their heart is empty. It often means their feelings are too full and complicated to handle at once. Their emotions still exist strongly, even if you cannot see them clearly. They think about you in quiet moments. They remember small interactions, kind words, and past conversations. They replay things in their mind and feel connected through memory, even when there is no contact. That is still a form of love, even if it is not openly shown. From the outside, it may look like distance, but inside their emotions can be very deep and active. Their care shows itself in silence, in pauses, and in thoughts that stay unspoken. Understanding this kind of situation requires patience. It also requires seeing love not only in actions that are visible, but also in what is not said. This is a complicated emotional bond that does not follow simple patterns. You might feel confused or even hurt by the distance. But the person you are thinking about is often not as far away emotionally as it seems. Their feelings can remain strong even in silence. In the end, this space between you does not define your worth or the reality of their emotions. It reflects how complex human feelings become when love and fear exist together. If you can look beyond what is visible, you begin to understand a deeper form of love. Love is not always loud or constant. Sometimes it exists in quiet care, unspoken thoughts, and distance that still holds connection. The next time you feel that gap, try to stay calm and remember that care can still exist even when it is not being shown directly. The distance does not always mean absence. Sometimes it simply means emotions are being held carefully inside. They are dealing with their own fears, doubts, and inner conflicts. But their feelings for you do not disappear because of that. The connection continues in its own quiet way. This is not happening because you did something wrong. It happens because you created a deep emotional impact in them that they were not fully prepared to handle. That kind of feeling can be powerful and confusing at the same time. The distance you see is not rejection. It is protection. It is their way of managing emotions that feel too intense or overwhelming. And in many cases, this space exists not because they care less, but because they care more than they can easily handle. They may fear that getting closer will make them emotionally overwhelmed or too vulnerable. Opening up fully feels risky to them, as if they might lose control over their feelings. So instead of moving closer, they step back. Not to hurt you, but to protect themselves from emotional uncertainty. In their mind, they believe you deserve stability, strength, and certainty. Another difficult part is how they see themselves compared to you. They may feel they are not enough in some way. They notice your emotional depth, your openness, and your ability to care strongly. Instead of matching it, they sometimes retreat. They may tell themselves they need more time or that they might disappoint you. So the space becomes a complicated mix of care and fear. Inside their mind, there is constant conflict, while you are left wondering about silence. They think deeply about past moments, replay conversations, and analyze every detail. Even small memories stay active in their thoughts, but at the same time, they struggle with self-doubt. You might think they do not care, but in reality their feelings are strong enough to overwhelm them. They feel pulled in two directions at once, wanting closeness, but fearing it at the same time. The more they want connection, the more fear rises inside them. So they step back, even when their heart wants to move forward. Their emotions continue quietly behind their silence. They try to avoid harm for both sides, thinking carefully about every step. What you see as distance is often an internal struggle you cannot see. Even if it feels like they are gone, they are still emotionally present in their own way. They are just trying to manage feelings that feel too heavy right now. They are searching for balance between hope, fear, and attachment. They do not want to lose you, but they also do not want to fail you. Despite all the distance and silence, their feelings remain real. They are not indifferent. They are conflicted. Their heart is still active in private thoughts, in memories, and in quiet moments where they think about you without saying it out loud. They hold on in a way that is not always visible, but still meaningful to them. One day, when conditions feel right and their worries begin to settle, they may come forward again. This would not happen because they forgot you, but because real care rarely disappears from people who feel things deeply. It only becomes quiet for a time. Until that moment arrives, the distance reflects their personal struggles and also becomes a silent sign of the emotions they still carry inside. They miss you in ways they do not easily express to others. Love that has not been healed often creates emotional gaps. Here is a difficult truth many people avoid. Love alone is sometimes not enough when someone is still carrying old emotional wounds. Past pain, trust issues, fears of independence, or fear of commitment can make new closeness feel unsafe instead of comforting. Your presence, even when calm and open, can create a sense of emotional responsibility inside them that feels overwhelming at times. So instead of staying close, they create distance. Not because they do not care, but because caring itself feels intense and slightly frightening to them. They do not fully trust their own ability to remain steady or to protect your heart in the way you deserve. This awareness makes them uneasy, especially because they can sense how deeply you feel and how sincere your emotions are. Because of that, distance starts to feel safer to them than the risk of hurting you or being unable to meet your emotional needs. Now think about your side and why your thoughts keep returning to them again and again. Emotional connections do not simply stop when communication ends. Your inner awareness picked up on unfinished emotional energy, words that were never fully spoken, and a bond that never reached its complete form. Your mind keeps circling back because something inside still feels unresolved, paused, or incomplete. When there is no clear ending, the mind naturally fills the gap with thoughts, memories, and possible scenarios. You start replaying moments, imagining different outcomes, and trying to understand what was never clearly explained. This is not just memory, it is emotional processing. You are holding the remaining energy of a connection that never fully expressed itself. Even when you try to move forward, part of your thoughts still searches for closure and understanding. This does not mean something is wrong with you. It actually reflects the strength of what you felt. When a connection is meaningful but unfinished, the mind naturally keeps it alive until it understands it better. Share this with someone who keeps thinking about a person who suddenly became distant. These emotional cycles happen when love is interrupted and leaves behind unanswered feelings. It creates a lasting imprint that quietly brings back memories, questions, and hopes for what could have been. You may sometimes feel frustrated with yourself for thinking about it so often. But this is a normal emotional process. Your heart and mind are simply trying to understand something that your deeper emotions already recognized as important, even if real-life circumstances stopped it from continuing. Distance does not erase love completely. It often just delays emotional resolution. Understanding this can bring a sense of calm because your thoughts are not a sign of weakness or failure. They are a sign that the experience truly mattered to you. Real emotional bonds can exist beyond physical presence. They show up in subtle and invisible ways that still affect your inner world. Every quiet moment and every space created between you both can carry meaning, even if it is not immediately clear. Sometimes distance teaches patience, emotional strength, and deeper self-awareness. It encourages you to sit with your feelings, observe your inner world, and understand what truly matters to you. Your thoughts return not because you are stuck, but because your inner self recognizes that love does not always follow a straight path. Timing, readiness, and emotional healing all play a major role. The connection you felt carries an emotional energy that does not simply disappear. Instead, it waits, asking for understanding, acceptance, and sometimes forgiveness from both sides. During this waiting period, you begin to learn that love can still have meaning even without a clear ending. It leaves behind emotional lessons that shape your future choices and build deeper understanding of yourself. Each returning thought is part of your growth. Your heart processes, your mind tries to balance, and your emotions slowly learn the difference between fear-based distance and genuine care. Silence itself can become a form of communication, and distance can sometimes hide care rather than remove it completely. You may not always see it clearly, but the emotional connection can still remain steady beneath everything. One day, when timing aligns and healing takes place, what feels paused may begin to move again with more awareness and emotional maturity. Until then, patience with yourself becomes important. Every unanswered question and every memory you revisit is evidence of how deeply you experienced this connection. Love does not stop just because it becomes quiet. It often continues in subtle forms. They also think about you during unexpected moments, like late nights, or when small things remind them of you. They wonder how you are doing and sometimes think about what might have happened if they had been braver emotionally. But fear often prevents them from reaching out. It creates hesitation even when feelings are still present. They may replay conversations in their mind, think of different words they could have said, but uncertainty holds them back for now. What makes this situation powerful is that the connection itself brings emotional change, and change can feel uncomfortable or even scary. You may have brought out parts of them they were not ready to face yet, so instead of moving forward, they step back to process everything internally. This distance is not empty. It is a form of emotional pause, a space where they try to understand their own feelings. Forcing clarity too quickly usually creates more fear instead of resolution. Some answers only appear when emotional calm returns naturally and healing has time to take place. Patience allows understanding to grow without pressure. This situation does not reduce your worth or suggest that you asked for too much. The connection was real. You met someone who cared, but who was not fully ready to match your emotional depth at that time. This is not your failure. It is simply timing and emotional readiness playing their role in the situation. You shared genuine feelings, even with uncertainty and silence, and that experience left a mark on both of you. Distance and silence do not erase what existed. They often reflect personal struggles and the growth still needed on both sides. Emotional shock can appear when you realize how love can also create distance. Love does not always end when it disappears from sight. Sometimes it continues quietly, develops internally, and becomes ready only when both people are aligned emotionally. The impact of this connection stays with you and shapes how you understand future relationships. It teaches patience, emotional awareness, and self-respect. You learn how to care for someone while still protecting your own peace. You also learn that real care includes understanding someone's hidden struggles, even when they are expressed through silence. The deepest forms of love are not always loud. Sometimes they are hidden behind hesitation, but they still exist. You deserve love that meets you with stability and equal emotional effort. These pauses and distances are part of a bigger process involving healing and timing. Every emotion you felt shows that the connection had meaning and helped you understand your capacity to love deeply. These lessons will guide you toward healthier and more balanced relationships in the future, whether with this person or someone new. It is important to respect your feelings while also allowing space for growth on both sides. Understand that distance does not always remove love. Sometimes it reshapes it into something more mature and more self-aware. Your connection continues within you and influences how you move forward emotionally. Love does not always require constant presence. Sometimes it needs space, reflection, and healing time. Not every relationship stays the same forever. Some come into your life to teach emotional lessons, self-awareness, and personal growth. If they return one day, it will likely be after emotional healing and after fear has less control. Until then, this distance has its own purpose in your journey. Stop blaming yourself for someone else's emotional limitations. Do not shrink your needs to protect someone who cannot meet you fully. If the connection is real, it will show up in consistent actions, not confusion. Otherwise, this space is guiding you towards someone who can truly match your emotional depth. A person can care deeply and still not be ready for closeness. That truth can be painful, but it does not reduce your value. Instead, it directs you toward love that feels stable and secure. Your heart deserves a connection where care is consistent, not uncertain. These quiet periods are not wasted. They are shaping you for healthier emotional experiences ahead. Understanding these patterns brings clarity when love feels confusing. It helps you move with more awareness and kindness toward yourself. Love may sometimes feel distant or silent, but it still carries meaning. Every part of this experience is guiding you toward the kind of love that is steady, balanced, and real. Like this video,